We would be honored if you would join us.
I got a bad feeling about this.
You are the chosen one!
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
It's a trap!
I don't like Sam. It's coarse, rough, and irritating.
I am your father.
Hey now, welcome to episode 108 of the Batman on Film podcast. BOF is a sponsor as well as a proud member of the Batman Podcast Network. In addition to the BOF podcast, you can find other shows such as Ryan Haas. Talk to us, man. What's going on at the BOF Podcast Network?
There's a lot of great shows on there, and you should check them out.
Such as?
Well, actually, we have one show that I was waiting on introducing for a few weeks now, but I'm going to go ahead and do it, I guess. The newest addition we have to the Batman Podcast Network is the Sequelcast 2 podcast, actually. The reason it's called Sequelcast 2 is because they had Sequelcast 1 a few years ago, and then they stopped, and now they're back, so they called it Sequelcast 2. And as the name would imply, they only cover movies that are in a franchise or that have sequels. So it's kind of a cool format. So they cover everything from, Jaws to Harry Potter to Transformers and everything. So they have newly joined the Batman on Film Batman Podcast Network, and they are doing Transformers right now, but in a few weeks they will be doing the Superman movies. They starting with the original Richard Donner Superman the movie. So that'll be cool, and it ties into the whole Batman Podcast Network, thing. So that'll be a whole bunch of episodes you can watch. Just two cool guys covering the Superman movies. So that's Sequelcast 2, and you can find that and all the other shows listed on BatmanPodcastNetwork.com.
I think that's amazing, and we'll get more into this as more of an official announcement down the road. But Ryan Haas is going to sort of take over the Batman Podcast Network part of Batman on Film. I think it's a great project for you. I think you're going to enhance that page, and I can't wait for you to be able to share more with the public about that.
It's coming.
Cool. I am your host today, Rick Shew. And obviously with me is my co-host and partner in crime, Ryan Haas. And Ryan and I actually finally met in person. I don't know. Have we been on a show since we met? I don't think we have.
So. No, we haven't.
So Ryan had a layover. As you guys know, I'm in Dallas. And where exactly are you in North Carolina?
I'm in Durham, Raleigh-Durham.
In Raleigh, okay. And you had a layover, and you actually scheduled it to be here for 3 hours. And I was able to pick you up, which was cool because that's also the same airport I picked up Justin at, and there's two major airports in Dallas, so that's kind of significant. But it was just deja vu because you got in the same car, and it was just that same kind of feeling of I know you, but you're flesh and blood. It's weird. You're an actual person. You're real. You're a human being, and we were able to go into downtown Dallas to my bar and had brunch, and man, it was really great to. I feel like you're family, but cool. It was cool to meet you in person. And then I hope the person I'm about to introduce, it's on my bucket list that he and I meet in person, hopefully this year. On that note, returning, our friend, our pal, Star Wars enthusiast, and all-around badass podcaster. And let me tell you something when I say that. That's no BS. When people know that you're on the show, sir, they get super excited. Paul Hermann.
Wow, that is an honor, Rick. It is an honor to be on the show as usual, and I'm excited to be on, talk some Star Wars with you and Ryan.
Yay.
It would be really easy. It would be really easy for me, Justin, and Ryan to get jealous of you. I think that people get more excited about you coming on the show than they do us.
I highly doubt that.
I'm actually being serious when I say that. No. That's actually true. Okay, and as always, Batman on Film is the authoritative and the definitive. And Ryan, I'm going to put you on the spot. It is also what?
They're also authoritative.
Authoritative, whatever.
Authoritative.
It's late.
It's late for everybody, but you know what? It's weird because for some reason I've never felt more alive on a BOF podcast for some reason because it's late is the new early for me.
We usually do these in the morning, but we're doing these. This is late. This is 10:30 at night almost for me and Central Standard Time. But what are we? We are the what? Give me the good Texas.
Dad Gum original.
Here, so give me that.
Dad Gum original.
The Dad Gum original. Although I've never said Dad Gum out loud before. Bill put that in our shows. Anyway, so moving on. So anyway, guys, so this is our satellite. Let me say this real fast. Where is Justin tonight?
Oh, Justin he's on assignment for Batman on Film, and it's not just something that we say because he's not here. He's actually really on assignment. He's covering the Batman Gotham by Gaslight world premiere, actually, for us in California. And he, I believe, was interviewing some of the actors on the red carpet or whatever, and he's watching the film right now. So I am excited to see. I'm excited to watch. I think he's doing video and stuff, but I'm excited to see his report.
Really quickly, do they actually have a red carpet for these DC to Blu-ray video whatever releases?
It's a semi new thing they've been doing, I think, but I don't know if it's a red carpet, but it is a premiere event. They just did one a few weeks ago for the Batman Brave and the Bold Scooby-Doo DVD, and Justin went to that as well, and he got to interview people like Diedrich Bader and James Tucker and stuff like that, and those audio interviews are on a couple episodes ago on the BOF podcast. So they did that, and so it's a thing where the press gets to come and interview people, and they get to watch the film also. And so they've done that one for Batman Brave and the Bold Scooby-Doo, and now they're doing this one for Gotham by Gaslight. So yeah, it's kind of a premiere thing that they're starting to do.
I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah,
let's also take this time to thank our audience for embracing these satellite shows. I always want to address that because I know this is a departure for what BLF has done over the years, but we really just wanted to branch out and do satellite shows, and the Star Wars thing has kind of become its own animal. We have our own intro for it. Thank you, Justin. Anyway, we wouldn't be doing this without you guys. All of you listening, thank you so very much, and also thank you, Bill Jet Ramey, what is he? He's our leader of the pack, so to speak, for letting us do these shows. He's very excited about them. He texted me earlier. He was like, man, I'm super stoked to hear this episode. He didn't actually say stoked. That's my own words, but I don't care. All right. So
I was about to say, I don't know if I've ever heard him say that.
Nah, he didn't say stoked, but whatever. I'm gonna put that in the podcast anyway. All right, guys. So like I said, this is a Star Wars show, and lots going on in the Star Wars world right now. It's interesting because I want to say we had a teaser trailer during the Super Bowl. Okay, sorry, man, that was hard for me.
Wow,
that was hard.
Very strange.
Paul, I'm
Yes.
one of the biggest. I'm like you. I'm a football fan, dude. That was a rough one for me. Anyway. Eagles and Patriots, whatever. All right, the Super Bowl. I said it. It was the Super Bowl, and there was what was referred to as a teaser trailer, right? And then
it was referred to as the big game TV spot.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. But it was also sort of announced on social media. But maybe that was just people sort of turning that into something that it wasn't. Regardless, that's what everybody thought. When in fact, really, what we got, guys, is at Super Bowl last night we had this trailer, and then today, this morning, online, then on Good Morning America, we actually got a second trailer. And in my opinion, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong here, I think we have two trailers right now. It's not a teaser.
Effectively, it's two separate pieces of video content that both have, different content in them.
Yeah.
And they play differently.
Paul, two trailers, in my opinion. That's the way I look at it.
That's, you know what? Two trailers. We're saying it now. All right. So let's do it this way. Let's approach it and say the first trailer. And, Paul, and if you just want to naturally jump into the second trailer, go ahead, or we can do it one at a time. I'm going to just kind of let the flow lead us. Tell us, were you watching the game last night? Obviously, you were.
Of course. Yeah. So I was at my buddy's house, who's a diehard Eagle fan. I had to support my boy, and it's one of those things where when your team's not in the Super Bowl, it's still great to watch the game and the commercials or whatever. And I don't know if it's just me. Are the commercials getting worse? Like, they're not as funny and as creative as they've been. Like the last 3-4 years, I feel like they've really fallen off. Like, I'm just not as impressed, and the commercials seem like lamer. But anyway, It was funny because I knew this was coming at the second commercial break, because people kept reporting it online, like, we got the lineup, it's gonna be right here. I'm like, that's cool, I guess, and I just kind of forgot. And then as soon as I saw the Lucasfilm logo come out, I went, oh god, I kind of perked up. And it was interesting because there's like a million little kids running around and like people talking, so I can barely hear. And but I have to say, I was blown away at how good it looked, the first trailer. And I'm just going to talk about both because that's what people want to hear. They want to hear the general breakdown of this, but I'll just give you my general thoughts before we get to the nitty gritty. By
the way, there's really no nitty gritty on this episode, man. So you're going to set the tone right here, right now. Hey, this is the
okay.
It's the Paul.
Man,
it's
just like those trailers.
It's the Paul. It's the Paul show. Run with it.
Wow. So seeing it initially, I'm just blown away of some of the imagery that they put in this movie, and with Ron Howard, I assume. And everyone, but maybe I'm not sure. Again, it's weird to think about how much it was Lord Miller. How much they put into this film and how much we're seeing. It's rumored that again, Ron Howard shot majority of the movie, or reshot majority of the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I don't know. I have no inside information. I have no idea what's going on. But all I know is I thought I read somewhere that someone said it was 60% of the movie was reshot. Now, and I think when I hear that 60%, I mean, like, sorry, my dog is drinking water. It's like way loud. It's distracting. But anyway, what's interesting is that, like, I wonder if that 40% that wasn't reshot are the action scenes, because Lord Miller, God bless him, I know they're great directors. They are great at directing comedy and things like that. But and just like the Marvel films, like the actual directors aren't doing like all that hands-on action stuff. It's like them, they're kind of
second units and stuff like that.
Exactly. Like they have professionals shooting this and people who have experience, and they're still actively involved. They're directing, they want to get the right scenes, but they're not doing the technical aspect whatsoever. So right. I kind of feel that, even though, like, in my opinion, I'm assuming, again, I have no inside information. I'm assuming that a lot of the action stuff that they shot was probably like by Lord Miller, if it was shot at that point. I feel like a lot of like the more of the acting one-on-one, the character moments, that's the stuff that probably Ron Howard's going in and refocusing on, and I gotta say, from the little we saw of these trailers, I think that Ron Howard is knocking it out of the park. And I think that when again, you're seeing it, there was some cool imagery at first. There was familiarity with the Star Destroyer and like that weird storm thing. I mean, this cool stuff that you might read about in a comic book or in a novel or whatever. You get to see it actually on screen, like, oh man, a Star Destroyer in a planet's atmosphere, and it's like a big storm all around it. It's super, super cool.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, I was going to say that's something you don't really see that often, and it's interesting to see like new things like that able to be done in a Star Wars movie. And a real quick point to what you were saying about the action scenes and stuff like that. The other thing to note is that when you do reshoots on movies like this, close-ups and dialogue scenes between actors, that's cheaper than action scenes or big CG set pieces. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that takes the longest to make in terms of the CG budget and things like that, and that's also the hardest thing to change because they take so long, and those things are planned out far in advance of everything else. So I mean, we saw it last year on Justice League, and I'm sure that factors into this film as well.
Yeah, and that's why I think that they are reshooting this movie up to like not only a few months ago. So I mean, yeah. And again, I think when you're just shooting like this, some very, very casual scenes or just character beats or moments or whatever, I think that you can afford to do that. And I think having a veteran like Ron Howard is so critical because he's going to get a great performance out of these actors. And I think and again, I'm just going to rest assured on that fact that Ron Howard is going to do that. There's nothing from these trailers that tell me that he's not. So with the first trailer, that's a little bit shorter. I didn't really know that Han was talking at first. Again, it was so loud until I got home and watched it a few more times on my TV. Got to see, got to hear him a little bit, but not enough. But you got to see just, Han, Lando in his fur coat, which is just ridiculously awesome. I don't know how I feel about a fur coat in Star Wars, but for whatever reason, like the way Donald Glover looked as in that shot, and it worked. But it was weird. If you would have told me Lando's going to wear a fur coat, I'd be like, that's weird, man. And now I'm like, no, it works. It's awesome.
It worked for Bane.
It's not a fur coat, dude. Ironically, you know what? No, this is no crap. Like, I actually said that Bane looked like a character from Return of the Jedi with his coat and his costume.
And the
like,
mask?
If you would have put
Yeah,
in the mask.
that makes sense.
If you would have put him in Return of the Jedi, he would have fit right in. I'm not even lying. Like, I think he'd be a Jabba's patron or
My
whatever.
mind is blown. I will never look at Return of the Jedi or Bane again the same. Thank you. I'm not being facetious. I'm dead serious. I'm like, that is amazing.
I honestly, if I remember correctly, I want to say I should go back to when those first pics of Bane leaked years and years and years ago, because I know I tweeted that out. I know for a fact. I'm gonna go find it. So anyway, so yeah, like it's just interesting that you get some things of characters. You're like, oh, that's Lando, and that's awesome. And I don't know. There's already a couple shots besides, again, the Star Destroyer in the atmosphere, the planet's atmosphere with the storm going around it. That was visually stunning. And already I love the shot of Han Solo looking up at the Falcon in that kind of dreary, which I'm assuming it's Kessel. That shot is already, to me, iconic. I know it's a big thing to say this early, but I love that shot. I think that shot is beautiful. So that stuff came out, and I'm like, okay, cool. You got to see a little. I mean, there's just the tone was already set that like this is a different side of the galaxy, far, far away. And I kind of tweeted this out the other day, trying to explain myself that there's so many aesthetic things you could do with Star Wars, but yet again, everyone who works on Star Wars or who loves Star Wars would say that like, yeah, you can only go so far hard sci-fi. Like there's a very fine line between it's Star Wars and it's not Star Wars, and it's really, really hard. I remember I went to a Celebration panel with Doug Chiang, who I think is underrated as hell in Star Wars appreciation. He's basically the second Ralph McQuarrie on the prequels, and people are gonna be like, "Oh, it's the prequels." No, dude. This guy's stuff is phenomenal. He's done a lot of work on Force Awakens and Rogue One, and I want to say he's the head of like design essentially of Lucasfilm. Like he's one of the head. In fact, he's one of the people designing Star Wars Land. Whatever the hell it's called.
Galaxy's Edge or something like that.
Yeah, Galaxy's Edge, whatever. He's heading that up. Like he is the head designer of Lucasfilm for Star Wars. And I just, so I got to see him, talk about, designing Star Wars. And it was a shame that it was only half filled, but it blew my mind. He showed some like stuff, how he designed Rogue One. He showed like Dantooine concept art. It was incredible. But he just said something very interesting that, George, he was never, at first he just didn't know what George would think of Star Wars or not. And then he quickly, like, there's just like there's little tweaks here and there that make things Star Wars and certain things that wouldn't. And I can't go into the exact details, but with these trailers that I'm seeing, they're keeping that aesthetic like alive and well. And I feel that in all the new Star Wars films, they have not gone away with that aesthetic yet. I feel that even though I haven't loved Over the Moon, all the films, I love all the films still because they're Star Wars, but I do appreciate the fact that they do keep that tone and that look. And Han Solo is an extension of that. You see like the train, that weird train thing. It looks amazing. There's so many little things that like the singer with the weird mouth thing and like the gold dress. And that is so cool. It's so Star Wars. And but at the same time, it's pushing Star Wars in a different way. And I have to say that like there's only been a few things of all the new films that I haven't like loved design wise, but Han Solo I feel is getting that aesthetic down even more than I'd say The Force Awakens did, perhaps, or The Last Jedi. I really feel like, and maybe that's because it's in the original trilogy era. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say it feels this closest to like a Rogue One in terms of this feels like Star Wars like instantly before
it looks
Right.
like
But-
Rogue
but
One. It really does aesthetically.
But you know why though? I think is because there's like more grays. Like color gray is prominent throughout these trailers that you see. Like it's not like a bright color palette. Like,
and are you surprised by that in terms of this movie? I was thinking something more vibrant and just more like dare I say fun,
something that would match the kind of like fun, like gallivanting adventure tone you might we've all thought this movie kind of would feel like.
The word dark is so like misused and overused or whatever, but there's a little bit of like, dare I say, darkness. There's an edge to this, right? Is that Paul? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that, and I don't know if that's a tonal shift from what Lord and Miller were doing, or if that was a reaction to how well Rogue One was received. Because again, like and I want to emphasize this too, that this is only the second of the standalone films. And one of the things that I'm trying to wrap my head around is that Star Wars is going away from the Skywalker saga, and they're going towards a more wider range of stories. And I think that's good and bad. I don't want to get into like that huge debate, but I'm accepting that. And one of the things that I have to accept is the fact that like the type of stories they're going to be telling aren't just going to be told in 3 films. They're going to be told in one and dones. There's going to be these one shot films, if you will. Yeah. If you're a comic book fan, like a lot of the listeners are who listen to Batman on Film, I would hope and assume so. And Ryan would. Yeah.
It's like a
one shot or the classic one shot that you would hear. Yeah, that's what these films are. They're one shots with potential of like a sequel to like, it's not a continuous story that like, obviously the sequel trilogy or the prequel trilogy or whatever. So when you do that, like the type of stories you can tell don't have to be heavy. And that's the kind of thing that I'm really excited about Han Solo, and I'm excited about other films with these standalone ideas, because I have to honestly wrap my head around the fact that it's not going to be a trilogy of films. It's the one film. I'm so used to Star Wars being this mega saga, like, sprawling over, 9 films. No. Like a lot of these films are going to be like one shots. And like, again, someone brought up like, it's just like the comics and the books. Like, that makes sense, but Star Wars is a visual medium. Like you can have as many books and comic books as you want. And though I feel comic books are a more accurate representation of Star Wars than novels. That being said, I think the way George always intended Star Wars to be was on screen. And whether that be Clone Wars, Rebels, or all the films, to me, Star Wars is the best served as a motion picture medium where picture is moving, talking, and you're using the style of cutting and things like that to make your story, known and heard. So I think that like knowing that it's hard, and again, I realize you don't have to have a sprawling epic. You can have these standalone stories. So that being said, when you have these standalone stories, what's gonna, you're gonna go back to what worked before. Rogue One had a kind of a dreary kind of look, but you got to remember that's the oppression. I think that's what they're trying to give you at the same time. Like Rogue One was successful because it was not dark, but it was gritty, and I think that was good, and it gave you a sense of what the Empire is doing to the galaxy at that point. Whereas you didn't really get a complete sense of that in A New Hope, and you see it in Jedi or Empire and Jedi, where they're being oppressed and they have like this baller equipment that the rebels have nothing, but now we're seeing in Rogue One and now in Han Solo, that at least that I'm seeing, there's oppression, there's bleakness, it's dark, it's and I think that's a creative decision to give you kind of the idea of like, oh man, like Han tries to join the Empire, which what you would get in that movie, or we get in the trailer, the first trailer, and they're saying like, oh, let's, what do you want to do? And in the second trailer is like, oh, they kicked me out because I wanted to be an individual, whatever. So it's interesting that they're already giving you the fact that like the Empire's bad, it's not good. It kicks out people who are very, very single-minded and have personality. And
It reminded me of Finn, honestly. That one line was like,
Yeah,
that's like Finn.
I don't know. I don't really correlate the two together because Finn was like taken at a young age and brainwashed, whereas Han Solo's been on his own, as he says in the trailer, since he was 10 years old. So yeah, to me, like I wasn't expecting anything. And that's one thing I'm trying to do with Star Wars. I'm going to let the story unfold in front of me, and then I'll react to it saying, okay, I'm trying hard to have my expectations in check and not have an idea of, not even story-wise, like tonal-wise, things like that. Like I was kind of like, and one of the things I got from this trailer is that it looks like it's going to be not like this bright sunshines and rainbows and things like that. It may be a little bit of a, dreariness to it a little bit, but that's kind of like what I think Han Solo's life is a little bit. Like it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. And I don't know. I the feeling that I got was definitely Rogue One, but I don't think that's a bad thing.
No, I don't either. And quite frankly, there's sort of this debate about, in terms of the timeline, where exactly does this film fall? And realistically, it's certainly closer to A New Hope than, let's say, Revenge of the Sith, right? And so therefore, it's certainly closer to Rogue One. And Paul, to your point earlier, it is showing the true nature of the Empire and what life is like living amongst us. Like I've always said that Rogue One has now made A New Hope, and quite frankly, in many ways, Revenge of the Sith, both of those films better and stronger and tighter. And I feel like Solo could very much do that. So Ryan, let me do this. I'll kind of give you my quick, just 60-second breakdown. Then I want to pass it on to you, and I want you to run with this. So when I saw the trailer last night, and I won't go into all the details of when I saw it or whatever. I saw it multiple times. So I'll just kind of give you my overall opinion. I thought, wow, what surprised me was he looked a lot more like Han Solo than I thought he was going to. And it's a funny, interesting debate because, look, we can't assume that this guy, or anybody for that matter, is going to sound or look like Harrison Ford. And the worst thing that an actor could do, that a director could do, is want that lead to do this impression of Harrison Ford. Because what you're ultimately going to end up with is like a Brandon Routh in Superman Returns mimicking Christopher Reeve. And it doesn't work. It never works. You can't do it. You especially can't do it with Harrison Ford. Now, one could argue you shouldn't do it at all, and that's fine. That's an argument to be had. But here's the thing. The movie's made. It's coming out. It is a part of our Star Wars reality. And because I was never a cheerleader for this movie, I've always been skeptical of it, and I've always been a little nervous about it. But it's here, and here's the thing: is that when I watched the first trailer, I love the visuals. I agree with everything Paul said. It's beautiful. I mean, the film is just aesthetically gorgeous. I was a little taken back, but surprised in a good way, kind of thing, that it was darker than I thought. But it had that sort of Rogue One feel of the Empire oppression. But at the end of the day, what I was most interested in is, because this film is going to live and die by one thing and one thing only, because I'm going to assume that Kasdan's script is great. I'm going to assume that Ron Howard's direction is great. They have earned that right. They have earned me to assume that, right? So what is the selling point, or the thing that will sink this film, is, do we buy this kid as Han? Do we care that he's Han? And what that means to us individually is going to be very different. To some people, it might be, well, he doesn't look and sound like Harrison Ford, I'm out. I don't want that. I want a good performance. I want an actor that's going to make this their own. But obviously, it's still like the character at the same time. It's a very difficult thing to balance, right? Especially as someone as iconic as Han Solo, and as someone as incredibly dynamic as Harrison Ford. So what are expectations going into this? Well, for me, it was like, do I see Han Solo? And that scene at the end of the first trailer, which, by the way, I actually liked the Super Bowl trailer better. If I just had to choose, I just thought it was more interesting, a little bit more intrigue. I liked the whole thing at the beginning where he's talking to the Imperial guy, and he says, what are you wanting to sign up for? And he's like, I'm going to be the best pilot in the galaxy, kind of thing. And he had that. So he had those inflections of Han, which I loved. But the part that I really liked a lot was at the very end. It looks like he's fair to say he's in jail, or he's caged or something, right? and at the very end of the initial trailer, it says, "Who are you?" or "What's your name?" And then he looks up at the camera and it just says Solo. I was like, "That's Han Solo." He looked like Han Solo, and so I thought, okay, so today, literally this morning, this is the day that the trailer came out on Good Morning America. Is once we hear him talk more, am I going to buy into that? And at first I didn't. And then I watched it 2 or 3 more times and, kind of warming up. And now I'm watching it, and some of these lines that he's delivering, I'm like, man, I think he's got it. I think, we obviously need to see the film and judge it on its own, but I love the line at the end of call it the second trailer, where he's like, it's fine. It's fine. No, everything's going to be fine, or whatever he says, or however he phrases it. But I was like, that's Han Solo to me. And so my overall opinion when I take these 2 trailers together at this point is it's beautiful the way it's shot. I'm maybe a little nervous still in terms of, is this guy going to convince us that he's Han? But the more times I watch these trailers and I look at him and say, I get it. I'm starting to feel him in the role. And I just want this thing to be fun. This doesn't have to be, Rogue One was a war film. The Force Awakens was reintroducing the franchise after it had been on hiatus and after the acquisition with Disney. The Last Jedi was taking the franchise in new and bold directions, regardless if you agreed with those decisions or not. What is Han Solo? It's a prequel film about a guy that we love that is played by this different actor, and what's it going to be about? Whatever. And all I can say is that it's a lot about emotions. How did I feel? What did I think? The visuals, and how did the actor resonate with me? I'm getting more and more excited about this the more times I watch these trailers. So Ryan, I lied and said 60 seconds. That was more like 5 minutes. So you tell me, what were your thoughts on these trailers, and did you kind of have this weird roller coaster ride that I did, where I was up and down, and now I'm up and I'm in a good place. Where are you at?
Whoa, man, that was a long question. So yeah, I mean, I've just been chomping at the bit to see anything from this film, from when it was first announced to the first set photos to, the director's getting replaced to not hearing anything for months. And, the 3 things that surprised me the most when I saw the, 2 different trailers was, like we've been talking, I was surprised by the tone and aesthetic most of all. And the other thing I was surprised about, that this movie really is still coming out a little over 3 months from now. Like, for real, it is. I was like, wow, that's just crazy to me.
Well, just so Paul and our audience knows, it's been kind of a debate,
running bet,
between you and I, because Paul Ryan's been saying for months, like, dude, there's no way they're doing this thing in May.
No way.
They're pushing,
for months and months. I never wavered from that. I was like, they're delaying this thing. There's no way it's coming out in May. Are you serious? Like, there's no way. They're just laying low. They're quiet about it. But hey, they're doing it. All right. 3 months. At least they didn't pull a Cloverfield and they were like, hey, it's already been out and you already saw it and you don't even know. But it was, I was like, wow. So I'm just impressed. I mean, that was a question I had for Paul. Maybe here in a minute, you could say something about that. I was just wondering, like, do they have, is this enough time to promote the film or get merchandise for this movie out that people care about, like, compared to something like a saga film or something? But in general, like, I was impressed. I mean, I was surprised by the tone and aesthetic. I'm surprised that the movie's really coming out 3 months from now, but I was still impressed and I liked a lot of things in it. I went from, I'm curious about it, I wonder what it's going to be about, to I'm totally down for this movie. Like, it seems exciting. I'm interested to see how it comes together. And for me, Rick, you said that how it all hinges on, Alden Ehrenreich, his performance of
Ehrenreich.
There we go. Alden Ehrenreich's performance of Han Solo. But to me, I'm kind of putting it in this category. It's like, first of all, it's really impossible to judge an entire performance from less than 3 minutes of footage. A lot of people online have already written on this thing off. Oh, it's not Harrison Ford. It doesn't feel like Harrison Ford. It's terrible. And it's going to be automatically the worst Star Wars movie ever, and just BS like that. And I'm just like, we can't judge the whole movie right now. I mean, you just can't do it. Just watch it and then make up your mind.
And that's what I mean, though. Like when we go to see it at the end of the 2 hours, did we believe he was Han?
We can't answer that now.
No, I'm not suggesting that we can't. I'm talking about when we go to see the film, because it can be well written, it can be well directed, it can have beautiful cinematography,
right?
All that, but at the end, if the lead isn't Han, then we're not going to buy it.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is like the things that help bolster that, right, is the direction, is the acting itself, of course. It's the writing. The two Kasdans working on this movie, they seem pretty passionate about, the script and having it stick to what they wrote and stuff like that. And then again, just to make the kind of Superman the movie comparison, you have like a guy like Chris Reeve being Superman. You have a lot of great cast members around him that help bolster that performance. So in this movie, we saw a lot of the supporting cast. We saw Woody Harrelson. We saw Donald Glover's, Lando, which already looks awesome. Emilia Clarke is in the movie, and of course there's Chewbacca too. So I mean, if all those folks do their jobs, that's only going to help. Alden Ehrenreich, as Han Solo, and it's one of those things where you have to not expect a 1-to-1 match with Harrison Ford.
Hear that.
This has happened before. I mean, we've had young Indiana Jones and stuff like that, right? I mean, and people are going to have to get used to that. If you want Star Wars to continue, and if you like these characters and you want to see them again, you're just going to have to get used to other people playing them. We've already seen this kind of stuff in the animation. You've had other people play Count Dooku and just Yoda and things like that, right? So it's more about, and that's the thing, it's more about Han Solo in terms of the future of Star Wars is bigger than any one actor.
And on that note, does this kid, I call him a kid, how old is Alden? Does anybody know? I don't know. He could be 30 probably.
30?
Maybe 20?
Mid-20s.
No,
he's not
exaggerating.
He's mid-20s.
I have no idea, but
he's 28.
He's 29 and a half. But does he look like River Phoenix to you guys?
He evokes that a little bit.
And I'm just wondering if that's on a subconscious level, being the Last Crusade's young Indy.
Maybe. In that first trailer, when it shows him in the cell or whatever, and it shows, his face is turned with the bars, I was like, whoa, that looks a whole lot like Harrison Ford. And then he like looks up, and I was like, it's not Harrison Ford. It's not. No. but it didn't.
He looked like Han in that.
It didn't matter. But he still looks like Han. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like there's enough in these trailers to where I can say, there's enough bits and pieces to where I feel like he's starting to kind of evoke Han for me. In terms of his performance, and it's going to be up to just the full picture, both him in his entire performance and the rest of the movie kind of helping tell that story. And but I'm hopeful. I guess that's my bottom line, is like I'm hopeful that it'll work.
Is there anything more badass in these trailers than Glover's Lando? And we've not even heard him talk.
But
good. Paul,
yeah, he doesn't have to.
Doesn't he? Just
he just evokes it so
Paul,
well.
What do you think? I mean, what's your favorite part about these trailers? A scene, an aesthetic, anything?
That's really tough. I'm trying to think like what exactly is my favorite part of this. I guess for me, it's hard for me to pick something from like a trailer because they're just quick little snippets. I'll be honest, I'm really digging the little chase with a speeder, land speeder with Emilia Clarke with Han while people are chasing him. I kind of love that stuff. Like that seems very like, I don't know, it's different and it's cool and it's reminiscent of kind of the pod racing.
It reminded
scenes.
me of Attack of the Clones. Like
I love that.
No, it does. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, there's just, I mean, I dislike that, but I'll be, again, it's hard for me to say like that is what is my favorite part of this book or this movie. No, I don't know. I think seeing the Falcon in action as a brand new ship has been pretty
pristine
nuts.
looking inside. Crazy.
Like we see, Yeah. It's really crazy to see the pristine like white insides. The fact that it looks different because like the fronts, it's not like two little prongs at the end or two prongs at the end. It's actually like it's all solid.
Yeah.
So you wonder where that went wrong. If it's even gonna be in this movie. A weird thing to me is and again I don't know anything inside information on this. But I'm wondering, is this Lando's ship or is this Amelia Clark's ship? Like
does it change hands more than once in the film?
Kind of, yeah. Like I'm almost wondering if maybe that's not what happens because something seems off, and I'm kind of. I mean, are we really going to see Lando and Han do the sabacc game to get the Falcon? Are we going to see? Here's another thing I thought was weird. Are we going to actually see Han Solo free Chewbacca? Like, I mean,
is he supposed to have freed him? Like, is that part of their story? Like, that's what happens? Okay.
Yeah. So, spoiler. That's a loose spoiler alert. I think.
No, I mean, if it's part of the history.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Because to me, just not knowing that, watching the trailer, it made me think like, oh, he's just with like Woody Harrelson's crew, and he just joins them there. That's the way it plays in the trailer to me.
So. Right. I mean, to me, it's pretty common knowledge that the reason the Han and Chewie are together is because when Han frees, he saves Chewie somehow. I don't know how he saves him, but in the old stories and whatever, the whole point is Chewie owes Han a life debt.
He's a Gungan.
So yeah. So I mean. Well, that's
wait, do that again. Yeah. I want to make sure they got on the air.
Yeah, no, I mean
that's amazing.
Oh, wow, that's pretty good. Well, no, but what I'm trying to say is that like there's the life debt goes well beyond the Wookiees and Gungans. Obviously, it's a kind of a galaxy from a galaxy thing. So I don't know. I'm kind of thinking that he must save Chewie at some point. To where, and again, I always thought it would be, from the Empire and and whatever, but maybe it's different. Maybe this is going to be a lot different where he's going to save his life to a point where Chewie's going to want to, have him around. It would be weird if like Chewie was just with him automatically at the very beginning of the movie. I'd be like, it'd be a little weird. So, I don't know.
Especially because they were supposed to be like young Han was supposed to be in like episode 3, right? Like George Lucas wanted
on Kashyyyk, which is so. I'm so glad they didn't do that. Oh my lord, that would have been bad. That would have been really, really bad. No, I just kind of think that I think honestly the thing that I'm really most excited about this movie, in all seriousness, is Lando. I've always been a big Lando fan. There's a funny story about Donald Glover going to meet with Billy D. Williams, and Billy D. Williams is like obviously the king of smooth and king of just whatever. He's a baller. Let's just be real. The dude's a baller and he's awesome. So, Donald Glover is obviously an intense artist. Like the dude like devotes. He loves the arts. He's musician, director, actor. Dude can do it all. It seems like he's immensely talented artist. And obviously he takes this stuff seriously. So he wants to meet with Billy D. Williams and he's like, okay, this is what he sits down with lunch and this is all Billy D. Williams explaining this. I'm just paraphrasing obviously until the quote, which is amazing. Donald Glover is sitting down. He's like, I think he comes from this and he does this. And he has this huge, says this whole thing. And then this is what Billy D said. I don't know about all that. Just be charming. And I love the fact
that's kind of great.
I know Billy D is just like, just be charming. It's just like classic Billy D. And I'm like, to me, that's what Lando is. And I think that Donald Glover's going to have that in spades. Obviously the dude's an amazing actor. So, so I think that Lando will steal the show. I think, obviously because Donald Glover is an amazing actor. And, again, like that seems like a lot of people online, people who are not excited about Han Solo, they're excited about Lando for multiple reasons. But yeah, I've always loved Lando. I love him in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. When I was a kid, I've always felt sorry for Lando that, I felt like he was forced to, take his, to betray his friend, but then he does right in the end. I always love that about him. And I don't know. I just love the fact that he flew the Falcon at the very end and like balled out with that. And so, yeah, I kind of feel like this. I'm really excited. That's what I'm most looking forward to. And again, I'm looking forward to also seeing Han and Chewie like meet for the first time, if again that is going to happen. So there's lots of cool stuff in this that I'm really, really excited about. And what's interesting is that I think, of a lot of films, like, big franchises, how many times have we like really second guessed like the main actor? We're like, oh man, I don't know about this. Like, think about Spider-Man.
The Dark Knight.
Yeah, or yeah. Well, no, I'm talking about like the main hero actor.
Right.
Villain being a little bit different. I'm talking about
Paul,
like your first movie. What's that?
No, I was gonna say I'm old enough to, and the age difference in us is not significant at all, but it is for just this.
Keaton.
Yes.
Are you going
Yes.
Keaton?
Keaton,
Yeah.
89. That's a good example.
I was too young.
Yeah,
I was too
I
young.
remember reading in the paper and everything else, because back then it was newspapers and magazines, Starlog, whatever, and Dallas Morning News, Dallas Times Herald for my local people. That paper's not around anymore. But there were endless articles about Mr. Mom being cast as Batman. And look, this is a Batman podcast, so we can talk about this for a second. He's a badass Batman. And I think most people have egg on their face that question that. A lot of people hated on Affleck when he was cast as Batman. Oh my God, Affleck. And then so many of those same people are the same people that were whining about him possibly leaving the franchise, which he is. But anyway, so it's like you can't, but, sorry, I didn't get that in, but you're right. You're absolutely right. People are, they have these preconceived notions, and I understand where they're coming from with Han Solo. It's a little unique in a sense that, at least with Michael Keaton's Batman, at least we had Adam West. At least there was the 40 serials, right? There was 2 other actors before Adam West, so there were 3 actual actors that had played Batman. There's never been anyone that's played Han Solo. But let's think about this. Let's go back to James Bond. And the first actor that stepped in after Sean Connery. And you couldn't imagine. And who was that? That was Octopussy. What was his name? Going blank.
I don't like James Bond.
Whatever,
so
doesn't matter.
no
But
idea.
there's been several James Bonds. The point is this.
Was
I'm
Roger
pretty
Moore
sure
the
Roger
second one?
Moore. That's Roger Moore is Octopussy, right? Or is that Tim? No, whatever. I'm not a James Bond guy much either, but
Some James Bond fan is killing us right now,
worst
but-
analogy ever. My point is this: is that no one thought that you could have another James Bond after Connery, and obviously we've had all these James Bonds that people like. So I'm excited for this kid and his interpretation of Han Solo. Look, I mean, I know it's a different scenario because it just is, but come on, man, Ewan McGregor is a freaking awesome Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Alec Guinness is iconic. And on that note, we still better get our Obi-Wan Kenobi solo film with Ewan McGregor.
Well, and I almost made that comparison earlier, right? With about Kenobi and the fact that Ewan McGregor to me is now Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's no longer Alec Guinness. I mean, I know Alec Guinness was the first one, and but to me, it's Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi that will last in infamy now for Star Wars. I think of Alec Guinness as a secondary character, and I don't think that's going to happen with Han Solo necessarily. Obviously, I don't think it's going to happen. I think if I'm a betting man, what I think is going to happen is Alden Ehrenreich is going to split opinions down the middle. Like it seems like so many like Star Wars and fans are going to be bitching about it here and there. I think, or at least, okay, how about this? It'll be split with Star Wars fans, like the diehards like us, but then the mainstream audience is going to be like, oh, he did fine. He did good. I don't think he's going to do.
I like that movie. Yeah.
yeah. They're going to say, I like that movie. And they're going to move on, and then he'll move on probably. And, if it's a smash hit, and this is the thing that I think what's really interesting is that Lucasfilm has kind of set themselves up for different things. Like for instance, Alden signed like a 3-year picture deal. Whether they make 3 films is, or doesn't really matter, but just imagine what if this hits a chord with the audience. The audience just loves it. Like maybe not Star Wars fans, like Star Wars fans like us, but like mainstream audience does, and it just gets a buzz about it. And it's just like a fun little movie that people are like, oh, I'm gonna check this movie out. Like they're gonna make more Han Solo movies in addition to whatever the hell they're gonna make with it. Like that's the thing. Like that's what's crazy. And this is
Or they could make another spin-off movie and Han Solo could just show up in
You
it.
could have that Han Solo in the Obi-Wan movie, and I'm not even kidding when I say that, by the way.
No, I don't think you could. I mean, I wouldn't like that. I want kind of just, I want to keep that meeting on Mos Eisley to be pretty, real. But what I'm trying to say is that, you could make, I've argued with people. I don't really necessarily want 2 films, but I could see a way that if Han Solo is successful, you could make another Han Solo movie on top of all the other movies you're going to decide to make, whether it's, this trilogy of Rian Johnson films or this rumored, Obi-Wan movie that people keep talking about that I pray is eventually going to be announced, but who knows if it ever will come to fruition. My point is this.
Maybe they'll just make a Lando movie next.
No, that'd be right. No, and I think that'd be cool. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I think this movie is I think those first, obviously Rogue One was so huge because now, like, it was the first movie, and they realized, okay, it can be successful without having a saga film, thing attached to it. Now with Han Solo, what can we do without Jedi? Fully on, like, no Darth Vader, just a new actor, kind of like resetting everything. Like, what can we do with this? Like, will people connect with these, with these characters that are new actors and whatnot? Like, and again, if it does, and it's a huge hit, I think there's a chance you could see 2 films per year because of that success. But I don't think you're ever going to see, and I don't want to see necessarily 2 films per year, but I don't think you're ever going to see 2 random films be like Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic and Star Wars, the new sequel trilogy, like all in the same year. Like, that's going to be too much for me. But if you have like characters like a Boba Fett or Han Solo or Lando that people already know, especially after, let's say Solo is a huge hit, you then can justify to probably to Disney and to yourself saying, you know what, like, fans are going to love these new films that are brand new and all different and all whatever, but they're going to eat up the Solo sequel because they love the first one. So that's where I think you could see 2 films per year. And I'm very curious if Solo even gets a sequel. Like, if it's going to be successful enough to where people are going to want to see more Alden Ehrenreich and Lando. Like you said it best, Ryan. Like, and I'm not even joking. Like, I literally will not be surprised if they end up making a Lando spinoff after a Solo, because Donald Glover nails and is so good as Lando. They're like, we have to put it into his own movie and do that. Like, I could totally see that happening. I mean, and think about it. Like, the palette's wide open.
Well, we were talking off mic earlier, Paul, about how Rian Johnson's trilogy, which, by the way, I still think he's going to get his trilogy, by the way, just for those that are listening. But the Rian Johnson trilogy, the 7, 8, and 9, or I'm sorry, not 7, 8, 9, the 10, 11, 12, or whatever it ends up being, has nothing to do with the Skywalker legacy and whatnot. But is Star Wars really, is Disney Lucasfilm really going to get away from that altogether? And I think that the standalone films can be their ticket to being able to hold on to that, whether it's Obi-Wan, Lando, a Yoda, whatever, right? So they can do that. One of the things I wanted to say also real fast, because I'm going to 2 more quick parts and we'll wrap this thing up. But one of you guys mentioned earlier, and I can't remember who, so forgive me, but it was in terms of like the enhancement of relationships in this film. And we hope that we get to see more.
Yeah, I was talking about the supporting cast.
We get to see more stuff with Lando and Han and him meeting Chewie and whatnot. And I think we're going to get all that. One of the things, in my humble opinion, that I think Disney has done brilliantly with these films to date, Rogue One, Force Awakens, Last Jedi, is they have in a lot of ways retroactively made previous films better. And I'll give you an example. Rogue One has made Revenge of the Sith and especially A New Hope better. Right? When you see Vader on Mustafar and that's where he has decided to chill. And that's where he has killed his wife. That's where his best friend severed him. And that's where he's chose to hang out and whatever. That's intense, right? That's intense. And then obviously the end of that film, everything that's leading up to Leia getting the information and goes into R2, all that stuff, right? I think in a lot of ways, The Force Awakens does the same thing. And what is really impressive to me also is when I think about you think about Han, right? You think about Han in The Force Awakens. You think about his adventure, and you think about his ultimate demise. Does this film, this Solo, sort of enhance all that? And my guess is it does in many ways. The way he meets, I think if this film does its job properly, like Rogue One did, I think that forever and ever, we're going to think about the Solo film, Ron Howard Solo, when Han and Chewie meet, and then we're going to think about that sad roar he lets out when he sees his best friend die in The Force Awakens. And we're going to juxtapose those from here to the end of time if it does its job right. Yeah. I think there's going to be dice in this film, and the dice thing is going to. Yeah, they're in the trailer. No, yeah, you're right. We know they're going to be in the film. I should say you're right. They are in the trailer. That's obviously going to enhance things in The Last Jedi. You see what I'm saying? They're right. Doing a brilliant job of retroactively making things better. I think ultimately, hopefully, that is sort of what's leading into an Obi-Wan film, but that's a conversation for another day. All right, so let's do this. Hard to segue because I'm so pumped up and excited. I'm like running on fumes. I've had no sleep, and it's late. This is a great conversation, but we're almost at an hour, so I want to start to wrap this up. So I want to do a couple of things here, another 15 minutes or so. Predictions. All right, and so I'm going to go down a list of people, and I want you to tell me, are they going to be in the film? And or maybe it might be an event or whatever. Just tell me, is this going to happen in the Solo film? It'll be a lot of fun to look back on this episode once we see the movie. So, Paul, I'm going to start with you. Is Jabba the Hutt going to be in this film?
I wish, but no. I wish. Not just Jabba the Hutt. I'll just say this. If I'm wrong, which I pray that I am, if the puppet version is in the movie, I will literally blow up like a Spinal Tap.
Squeal. He'll do a Paul squeal.
Whoa. Be careful what you wish for.
The people who don't. Because if Jabba the Hutt, the puppet, if it's CGI, I'll be like, that's awesome. But if it's the puppet, I'll do a squeal and I will. Be
careful what you wish for, though, because suddenly there was the puppet. The puppet Yoda was back in The Last Jedi, and people that he looked like shit. I'm like, no, he didn't. He looked like he did in the original films. He just wasn't the CGI military. Yes.
The difference is that the Jabba puppet is a way more complex puppet than Yoda.
The guy that was on the back of Luke training him on. Okay, whatever.
Yeah. All I'm saying is that Jabba takes 8 operators to do. I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, granted, technology is advanced. Hopefully, in 30 years, that maybe making Jabba puppet isn't as crazy. But I mean, Jabba shows up at all, I'm going to lose my goddamn mind, which I'll be very happy with.
I'm all for it. I love it. I love it.
I don't think so.
Here's what we'll do with this little exercise, by the way. I'll ask whoever I ask, elaborate, and then the other person just give me a yes or no. Does that make sense? So, Jabba, yes or no, Brian?
I'm going to say yes. No. I'm sorry, but I have a slight embellishment. I do, and I had to bring. Please, I have to.
But I have 10 more people on. I have 10 more people on my list. We can't. Go ahead.
I know.
Fine.
It's a brief thing. We spent more time arguing about.
Jesus,
right. So I meant to bring this up. The shot of Han Solo looking up at the Millennium Falcon earlier in one of the trailers, right? And he's wearing the fur coat stuff. To me, I instantly thought, is that the same kind of fur coat stuff that the human version of Jabba wore in the original version of?
That's a deep.
Go back and look at that. It looks so similar to me. Like the belt. The belt's what gave it away for me. I was like, it's all fur and stuff. This belt. Go look that up. Because for me, I was like, wow, that's really similar. Is that on purpose?
So for people that are listening that don't know what he's talking about, that's a deep cut, man. I'm well played. Is in the special editions, the first time Star Wars fans lost their shit and hated Star Wars, before the prequels, before The Last Jedi, etc. But was Lucas brought a scene back in A New Hope where Han is actually talking to Jabba and they're walking. It's interesting because if you're at a certain age, that is canon to you anyway. That's just how the movie is because you don't know any other version of it. But in fact, that scene obviously is real. It's Harrison Ford in 1977 or whatever year talking to Jabba. But Jabba at the time was a guy. It wasn't this slug. It was an actor. It was just a guy, and that was Jabba. And I guess I don't know the whole story, Paul. Maybe you do, but George pulled that scene maybe because that wasn't how he wanted Jabba to look. And Ryan's right. That's what he was wearing. That is crazy. All right, I don't want to get too much of this because
really quick. The reason why he always intended to put a stop motion or something over that guy. That was always the intention. So,
that was always the intention? Okay, I didn't know that. Always the intention. Well, that's good. That's good to know. Okay, so now we're going to get back on Rick's rules here. We ready? Ryan, you get the elaborative response to this. Paul gets the yes or no. Ryan, are we getting Boba Fett in this film?
No, I don't think so. I mean, that would be a little too much. I would hope that, there's enough going on in this movie without throwing Boba Fett in the mix. And that's like people that love Boba Fett, I think might want to see more of him than just another fleeting, thing. So if they include him, that he better be kind of like in a cool spot. But I don't know. I don't know if it's the right time or place to throw him in.
Okay. Paul, are we getting Boba Fett?
No.
Okay. Paul gets to elaborate.
Noble Fett. Noble Fett.
Paul gets to do the elaborative part of this next question, and then Ryan, you get the yes or no response. Man, I'm having a hard time putting words together tonight. Jesus. Okay. Paul.
Yes, sir.
If I'm gonna speak like this, I should at least be drinking alcohol and enjoying myself. So, Paul, Maz. Are we getting Maz in this film?
Hell no.
We should. I think we should, but
no, we should never get any more Maz. Maz should die and never come back again. I hate Maz.
Wow.
Let's find someone to replace Yoda, but make her kind of quirky and really weird and make her like really sexualized for some reason. I like that Wookiee, and oh yes, he's so good at so many things. Oh yeah, I'm just like
I love the Last Jedi, and I even like the Maz scene. I even like the Maz scene in Last Jedi. I think it's fun.
I do. That was atrocious.
But you're atrocious. Just kidding.
Oh, this guy's something to do with anything. Oh,
yeah, and then like Rose and Finn just look at each other like, "Oh, what's it?"
Yeah. No, there. That's fair. Touche. I can't defend that moment in The Last Jedi, right? So okay, so God, this goes. I love you guys. This is the most like derailed, dysfunctional podcast on the internet, and I'm proud of it. This is what I love about BOS podcast. We're just dudes talking. All right, so Ryan, are we getting Maz? Yes or no?
I hope not.
Okay, Ryan, you get to elaborate on this one, and then Paul gets a yes or no. You ready?
Oh, good.
Are we getting Vader in this film?
God, I hope not. No, that would be too much.
Okay, Paul, we getting Vader?
Nope.
Now, that's what you guys want, but realistically, deep down, are we getting Vader?
No.
Okay, I bet he's in the film. I'm not saying I want it. I just bet he's there. All right.
Force Ghosts? We're getting Force Ghosts in the movie?
Hey, are we getting Hayden Christensen's Force Ghosts? I'm Rick Shew.
Oh, Lord.
Good. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so.
Are you gonna ask me if Obi-Wan's in the movie next or something like that? Like Ewan McGregor has like a cameo?
No. Kinda. Here's the next question. God, you just ruined it. I don't actually think Ewan McGregor.
That's my favorite.
I don't think Ewan McGregor, or for that matter, Hayden Christensen, which I think the guy gets his due. Put him in a Force Ghost, J.J. Abrams. Okay, but do you think, Paul, that we're going to get a prequel era actor, much like we got Jimmy Smits in Rogue One, which was awesome? Are we gonna, because obviously the prequels are Sith is many years, but are we going to get anybody?
I don't know who you would put in. That's the problem. Like maybe you could maybe put Mon Mothma in. Maybe you can maybe put Bail Organa in, but to me, they don't really fit like the story. Like, there's nothing you'd have to shoehorn them in there. Like, guess what? We've got Mon Mothma.
But we don't know the story. Well, is that like in the Phantom Menace? Like, who's the droid we have here? Well, let's look at his call numbers. This is R2D2. Right.
That's different because hold on. Because R2 sticks around the entire time.
I understand, but it was still
yeah.
That's a good question. I mean,
don't, Ryan, don't. Don't.
This is your next question. I know what's coming.
It's the principle, damn it! It's the damn principle.
Ryan,
you're not supposed to.
Ryan Haas. I have a Ryan Haas. I have a fucking list here. Okay,
yeah.
That's a question. Don't ruin my mojo. So, where were we? A prequel era actor. Yes or no, Paul? Okay. No. Ryan, you get to elaborate on this. You buzzkill, you cheater. Are we going to get 3PO and R2D2 in this film, sir?
I hope so, because they've been in every film so far, and I think it would be a disservice if they didn't find out some way to include them somehow.
Even Rogue One's, even kind of Rogue One style.
Rogue One, yeah, exactly. Okay. I mean, Rogue One style is the way to do it, and we know with the Empire stuff just kind of floating around in this film, we know it's going to be present. I mean, that's kind of a place you could put them. Maybe, I don't know.
All right,
put them in there.
Paul, are we getting 3PO or R2D2?
I'm going to say no.
Okay, Paul, you get the elaborative one. See, isn't this great? Rick, see. This is fun, right? Okay, Paul. Are we gonna get someone in Carbonite?
No.
I see. I think we will. I think we'll see Han see it. And maybe that's a little too. Maybe that's too on the nose, and maybe they won't. But
hold on. This is why, Rick. Because in Empire Strikes Back,
think about his face when he sees it. He knows, like, you can.
But
go ahead. Go ahead.
The reason, because even Lando, they have no idea, like, that, he even says if you could kill him by doing this, like, it's kind of, and even Vader says we'll test it on Captain Solo. Like, it feels like it's not a very common thing, and if they did, I think it would take away from the Empire Strikes Back a little bit, in my opinion. But I say that also knowing they did a random thing like that in the Clone Wars where they all put them in carbonate for a few minutes and unthawed them out right afterwards, like, so they can clear some, like, Imperial or separatist thing. That being said, I just don't think they're going to do that. Just, it might, maybe, I don't know. It feels too on the nose, in my opinion. But I also,
let me say,
you could have, like, Jabba have some carbonate, be like,
we're going to see me do a 180 in real time. Okay, so I just mentioned earlier how I compliment to the Disney Kathleen Kennedy films. I think that they retroactively strengthen a lot of things that happen in the films, and I think Solo is going to do that. Paul has now changed my mind in real time that if you do add that, it doesn't strengthen that; it makes it weaker, and I think that's a fair point. I don't think it's going to be now, and I hope it's not. So, good job. But the question's still there, so
no problem.
The last time we did a show together, you taught me off the ledge is I wanted to kill online fanboys. Now I don't believe in Carbonite. So, Ryan, Ryan, so are we getting Carbonite? Yes or no? Okay.
No.
No, we're not. Are we getting, and this is the last question, I'm just going to throw it out there. Are we getting, is the word Jedi or the Force, and it's kind of a two-parter. That's fine. Are we going to hear those terms? Anybody, just go. Just jump in. It's anarchy.
Yes.
Okay, Paul. Paul, yes. Okay,
yeah,
which ones, or both, or what? Okay,
both.
Ryan.
Yeah, because we've got the Empire in this movie, and we've got Han Solo, who's the pessimist, the non-believer. I wouldn't be surprised, and as a parent film, kind of sorted to Rogue One, who had a lot of nice Force type things in it. I wouldn't be surprised if it's mentioned.
Okay, cool. All right, guys. So here's I'm gonna throw you a curveball. You ready? And then we're gonna do some plugs and get the hell out of here as I need to go to bed. Paul, give me your top three. And look, there's Clone Wars. There's books. There's comics. and all of that is relevant and great in the films, in the live action movies. Give me your, and I know Han Solo wasn't.
We don't even know.
I get it.
And ranking and in my ranking,
No,
like
just give
10.
me your top three, and give me letter grade A, B, C. I'm kidding. Give me your top three.
Top three what, Rick?
Fucking Rick is.
Oh my god! Out of 4 stars, how do you give all the books?
Worst host ever, Paul. Give me your top 3 favorite Han Solo moments, man. No particular order, just your top 3. Hey, and just so our listeners know,
you should have told me before.
Just so our listeners know, I told these guys, listeners, I'm talking to you. Thank you for listening. I told Paul and Ryan both. I said I'm gonna throw you guys a curveball. It's unfair because I know what the question is going to be because I came up with it. I wanted them to think on their feet. I'm giving, by virtue of doing this, I'm giving Paul too much time. Top 3 moments. He's been in 4 films and about to be 5. So, but what's your top 3 solo moments?
Oh, yeah. This is. Give me a second to try to think.
Go.
And
you want Ryan to go first?
Go ahead.
Okay, number 3.
Yeah,
I just
first,
really like that scene in The Force Awakens where Han Solo gives Rey the blaster, and she's like, I know how to take care of myself, and Han Solo's like, I know, that's why I'm giving it to you. I just love that line delivery. It just makes it's just great, and that's one of the moments in The Force Awakens where I'm like, that is like 110% Han Solo. It's so good. I love the
and by the way, I think Han Solo was more Han Solo in The Force Awakens than he was Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a
good
That's a conversation for another day. Okay, go ahead. That's a great scene.
My number 2 would be, the Death Star save, where he helps that whole thing happen in episode 4, A New Hope. I like that. And number 1 is
wait. When he comes out of nowhere, Luke thinks he ran off, and he's like, "Do it now, kid! Blow it up! Woohoo!" All that.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah,
because that's like the end of his character arc in that film, and it kind of ties it together. So that's good. And number 1 is the "I love you, I know" thing. That's Han Solo right there.
Well, that's on my list as well. The other 2 are not. That's a great list. But the "I love you" thing, I know the reason that is one of my favorites. That was not the script. He said,
exactly.
I said he's supposed to say "I love you too" or whatever, and he just wasn't feeling it. And he convinced who directed that was oh gosh, I'm sorry,
Irvin Kershner.
Irvin Kershner, thank you. And he convinced him that, hey, just let me do this take or whatever, and they let him do it, and that was what he said. And that's when you know the backstory, it just makes that even more cool. All right. Yep. So I'll give my other 2 since that's obviously one of mine. So Paul, is that one of yours? Fair to say, the "I know" moment?
No, but I'm getting closer.
Do you want to do you want me to give mine and then you go? Okay.
Yeah, do that. Go ahead. I have to actually. I'll be right back when you do that. I have to do something real fast.
Do your thing. All right. So here's my deal.
Thank you.
Here's my favorites. Is I think when he walks onto the Millennium Falcon and the Force Awakens, and that's
pretty good.
That smirk and that look, and he's looking around, and the dice are dangling up there. Also, by the way, because they were not.
You don't see them though.
They weren't, but they were there, right? Weren't they? Well, and maybe that's just it. Maybe I just know that, and they're there in terms of just from a symbolic standpoint. But regardless, it's just the look on his face. I don't really look at anything else other than his face anyway, and that smirk. And he's just home. And, he's got the line that precedes that. It's, it foreshadows that moment where he says, "Chewie, we're home," but he's home. He's the guy that's like, God bless, I haven't slept in my own bed in months. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or maybe years. And that's the feeling I get from it. I also, obviously the "I know" part. And then a big, big part for me, or big solo moment, is in A New Hope when it leads into your favorite moment when he comes in to save the day, right? And it's when he stops Luke and he says, "Hey, may the Force be with you." And when
that's great.
And when he says it, I'm going to F-bomb here, so forgive me, audience members. When he says that, he fucking means it. You know, he meant it. He meant it. Did he necessarily believe in the Force per se? No, but he meant. He knew. Thank you. He knew what it meant to Luke. Okay, so those are my 3 favorite solo moments. You know what? I hope I get one of those knocked off this list with Alden Ehrenreich. I really do. Okay, Paul, you with us? Okay, so what's your top 3 solo moments?
Yeah. All right. I'll go on so number 1 will be the last one I do.
Yeah.
The third one I'm going to say actually comes from The Force Awakens, and it's when he's telling Rey and Finn that it's true. It's all of it, you know, the dark side and the light. Like, I love that line because you see how far the character's come since, you know, A New Hope, and you know that like he's finally seen what he always doubted. And I think that's a beautiful moment. Like, I think that's it's funny because it's in the trailer and it blew all our minds. And we're kind of now, it's like, okay, we've seen him die. We've seen him, you know, it's Ben Solo as a kid, blah, 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 you know, all this stuff. So like, I feel it's kind of like gone under the radar again. Like, oh yeah, that it's true. All of it, that whole popular meme thing, you know, whatever, it's over. But at the same time, I feel it's one of my favorite Han Solo moments at this moment because, again, what it stands for. The second one is going to be not controversial, but it's going to be controversial what I say about it. When Han talks to Greedo and kills him, I don't care if he shoots first or fires second or fires 3 times later. It doesn't matter to me. I love the interaction with him. I love the fact he's telling Greedo, like, I got the money this time. And he's like, well, just give it to me. He's like, no, give it to him. He's playing him. And I also love the fact where he says, we might even take your ship. And he just goes, over my dead body. Like he totally shifts. Like he goes from like to oh hell no. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's like that to me is like, you know, he's like over my dead body. And that's when Greedo knows he's like, haha, I got you. And he's, you know, and that's when Han goes, bam, you know. So I mean, whether Greedo fires first, second, Han fires first, it doesn't matter to me. To me, like, I love Han's interaction of handling someone with a blaster right in his freaking face, about ready to kill him point blank, you know, range. So I love that. My ultimate favorite moment, and this is a little sappy, is actually when Han, you know, is like, "Where's Luke?" And everyone's like, you know, we haven't seen him come in. He goes, I'm going out there, and they're telling him your tauntaun's going to freeze. And he goes, well, I'll see you in hell. That moment. And I love the fact that it's a whole thing of Han doing whatever it took to get his friend safe. And it's really sappy, but it really is a movie moment for me because I have so many friends in my life that I do the same thing. You know, like Han is, you know, it's beautifully written because, again, like they're all like, we haven't seen Commander Skywalker come in. He's like, I'm going out there, and they're like, you're gonna die. He's like, but see you in hell. And then he goes out there, he finds him. He's Luke. He says, it's gonna smell bad. And he, you know, wipes open, you know, swipes open the tauntaun, and then he shoves him in there. And I just love how he's just like, how they smell bad on the outside. And he's like, oh, you know, I just love the fact he's so like, I'm going to go out there and save my friend. Because again, he doesn't have any family. His friends are his family. So I think like that extension to me like hits home from like an emotional standpoint, like for me. And I love it really shows the character that he's not a selfish ass. He's actually a really good person. And that even, I think we're going to see that I think in Solo, we're going to see that same thing. I think we're going to see this guy. Yeah, he may be like a smuggler. He may do some things that aren't great, but in the end, he's a smuggler with a heart of gold. He's going to do the right thing. He's going to save people he cares about. And so that to me is like my favorite moment of Han Solo when everyone tells him that, you know, you don't go out there. And he's like, oh, hell no, my friend's out there. And so he's going to go out there. I love that.
What is the actress's name that's in Solo? She's beautiful. She's great. What's her name?
Emilia Clarke.
Yeah,
okay, from Game of Thrones.
So
she is
Kira.
By the way, really fast. I'm not a blonde guy. I think blondes are beautiful. I'm a blonde myself, you know, but I've always been partial to brunettes, and her natural hair color is brunette, and she looks gorgeous in this movie because it's her natural hair color and it's brunette, and she's beautiful. She is beautiful.
And so there's also, you just talked about scoundrel and all that. So this was not planned, but I put a little poll on Twitter today when she says to him, "Oh yeah, I actually know who you really are, what you're really about," or whatever the line is. And by the way, I also want to say this: You talked about those great transitions that Han Solo has. He's at one place and he's another in terms of his facial expressions and his whatever. I think that Alden nails that in that last scene in the second trailer, where she's like, "I know who you are." He's like, "You do? What or whatever?" What does she say? Is he a scoundrel? Does that make sense? When she says, "I know what you really are."
Yeah, I think that's what is implied. I think that's what's implied.
Scoundrel. Okay. What do you think, Paul? I think that scene is set up to make us think that she's going to say, "You're a hero. You're the guy that's going to save the day. You are whatever." And really, I think she's going to say, "You're a scoundrel," and she's going to walk off. That's what I think.
I don't think she's going to say she's a scoundrel. Well, actually, you know what? She might actually, because again, that would kind of set up a little bit of what Leia said. You know, what he tells Leia. You know, he says like, "You're a scoundrel." Well, I forgot he doesn't say that. He's gonna. I don't know. I don't know what she's gonna say. To be honest, I think it could very well be scoundrel, but I could see him. You know, her insulting him in some way that like could lead us to kind of laugh and know that women who like Han Solo tend to insult him because he's so like cocksure of himself, kind of a thing.
I want to go back to the point I made earlier about these things retroactively making these other films better, these Disney films, is that moment in The Force Awakens when he and Leia are having that great conversation in terms of after Kylo went south and they had to go do, she said, "Well, I had to do what I've always known and what I've been good at." He's like, "So have I." And that going back to the streets, I want that moment to be enhanced by this movie. Another thing I want to see in this movie, and Ryan, I'm going to throw this at you. And maybe it's in that cool scene where those, like, I don't know what they are, these weird guards. And Han's got it's very Western, it's very Clint Eastwood. You see him move he's about to grab his gun. You know what I'm talking about? And he's got his holster.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's like 50 seconds into the longer trailer.
Yeah. I want to see him shoot first.
Yeah.
Did Han shoot first, dude?
I hope so. And that's exactly what I thought when I saw that. I'm like, man, it's like a Western standoff kind of thing. And, all these, the art direction here and the guards and the, armor, it's like, look cool. It looks cool anyway. And it looks like there's some kind of a big presence in the film. But yeah, just seeing that shot, on the weapon, on the blaster, that's gotta evoke that. Like, there's gonna be that moment in the film where they're like, "Oh, is this gonna be where he shoots first?" Finally, are they gonna make a big deal out of it? I hope so. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I do too. All right, guys. So we need to wrap this thing up. I need to go to bed. And we also want to get this thing produced and get it up for our listeners who are going to be listening to this and going, "Why am I getting this on the show?" But it is what it is, because we're talking in real time here. It's all very real here on the Batman on Film podcast. Yeah, Can I say on a scale of 1 to 10, Paul, what's your excitement for this film? 10 being "man coming out of my skin," 1 being "F this thing, I hate it." Where are you at?
It's really hard for me to not be pretty much a 10 for any Star Wars movie, to be honest. I'm being real with you.
I love it. I'm a freaking 9.5. Ryan, where are you at?
Yeah, I'm a 10. I mean, that's the thing. Out of I'm excited for Infinity War. I'm excited for, Solo. I'm excited for Deadpool and Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'm excited, and Jurassic World. I think out of all those, I'm the most intrigued by Solo.
Yeah.
Like if I could pick one to go see now, it would be that one.
I agree. And there's a million other things I want to say, but for sake of time, we're going to wrap this up. So, Paul, thank you so much for joining us again, man. It's like you're just a staple on these Star Wars shows, and you're great on the Batman shows. You're just great, and we love you, dude, and we appreciate it.
Anytime Batman on Film wants to do a show, I will be there because I love you guys. You guys are great. You're good dudes. I appreciate you guys like crazy. Ryan, if I know you do a comic show for Batman on Film, I will go on any comic book show you want. I'm just going to say that right now. So
all right.
If I own a number of Batman comics, so if you want my insight on them, I would. If you give me enough time, I know you asked me to be on a show randomly the day of, and I was like, it's not going to work the day of. Show. But but that being said, I will. Any other show, give me a little notice. I will totally be on. I love comic books. huge. I mean, that's like my second favorite medium besides TV. So,
have you been reading? Here's a real quick Batman question. Then, have you been reading like
sure.
Batman White Knight?
No, but you know what? I'd be willing to purchase the issues because I've heard great things.
It's
about
on like
it,
issue.
so
I think it's on issue 4 out of 8. We should totally do a show on that one.
It is 4 right now, and 5 is coming out soon. Yes, and we're going to, and I've been reading those, and
exactly.
We definitely.
Do you read comics?
Listen, dude, I read freaking comics. Okay, I've been terrible reading.
Do you know who Denny O'Neill is?
Period. The last several, dude. I was supposed to. You know I run a political podcast, right? I was supposed to do a show on Hillary's book. I never read it. We had to cancel it. I've just been terrible at reading. Period. I'm reading articles all day long and stuff like that.
Comics have pictures in it. They're a lot easier to read.
No,
you don't even have to read
but you know what I did?
Who Danny O'Neill is? You better answer.
Of course, I know who Danny O'Neill is, but I just recently reread a book by the author of Fight Club. I'm like, why did I read? It's a great book, but why did I read that book again? But I haven't. But I've been. I got a stack of comics for.
They made a sequel. They made a Fight Club sequel in comic book form.
They did.
You know that?
It's a comic book. Damn it, that's true.
Yeah, it's a comic book.
I'm reading White Knight. I'm caught up on White Knight. I've got a stack of comics I got for Christmas. I'm digging out some old comics. I'm like getting back into comic book reading, and I need to start reading novels again. Like I said, I just knocked.
Oh, you don't. Novels are lame, dude. Novels are for like the hipsters. Read comic books.
Listen, I love comic books. Listen, I'm telling you, like some of my favorite memories of my life are like under my covers with a old school flashlight because we do it on our phones now. And I'm supposed to be in bed reading comic books. I mean, and that's primarily Batman, a little bit of Superman, a little bit of Spider-Man, and that is 3 a.m. just reading comics is some of my finest memories in my life, and that is why a big part of why I love all this stuff. You can listen. I'm not saying that you can't be a Batman fan or anybody else, and just love the movies. So anybody out there's like, I don't read comics. I just love the Batman movies. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing at all. Yeah, but I will say this: even like if you're even someone like me that's at this point, I have to just consider myself sort of a layman comic book reader because I'm so behind. But I'm still enriched by all the comics I've read and the comics I'm reading. It makes these characters better. And then when you see stuff in film, like when I saw Batman Begins and he crouched for the first time, if I didn't know that in the comics, I wouldn't have come out of my seat with excitement that we're getting that on film for the first time. It's little things like that make being someone that reads comics just even makes these movies better. So I just want to say that's my rant. Okay, so Paul,
breaking Batman's back and rises. There you go.
Yeah, and by the way, I will do White Knight. Just tell me, and I'll buy the issues, and I'll do it.
It's so, dude. I'm telling you.
Anyway, sorry. I'm sorry, Rick.
Hey, Ryan. Let me just say this real. I'll say this real, and I'm going to put this out there. It's going to be really crazy and ambiguous, but I wasn't sure of the whole Harley Quinn spin. Right? Was real.
Yeah.
Or that was part of his schizophrenia. Yeah. And
well, spoiler alert, dude! Don't come on,
don't watch our vlog. Me and Justin did a vlog, and he spoils it big time on that. So don't watch.
I can't watch your guys' vlogs. It's too new for me.
We release them in audio only forms, though. By the way.
Well, here's the thing. All I'm going to say is the White Knight. The White Knight's freaking amazing, dude. It's amazing.
I will. Let me know when the show is. I'll buy the issues. I'll read them, and we'll do it.
All right,
cool. So, Paul. Let's do plugs because I really got to go to bed. Paul,
no, you don't. Let's talk about comics some more.
Give us
Here's Neil Adams.
Give us some trivia.
All right, I'll plug. Yeah, let's do some trivia real fast. Hold on, I'm gonna throw you a curveball, Rick.
Just plugs. I'm not doing it.
You're too much fun. You're too much fun. I want you.
I'm not even going to get into how much of a Cheers fanatic I am. And
that is a character deflection right there.
And there's a Cheers character. And there's a Cheers character, Woody Harrelson, in a Star Wars movie. You know what a mindfuck that is for me?
Oh, all right. God. All right. I'm plugging. I'm sorry.
All right. Plugs, my young Padawan. Plugs.
You can find me on Twitter at Herman22 with 2 N's. You can also find me on the new revitalized Marvel newscast with Sean Gerber. we are going through all the old Marvel films right now, and we're not just talking about the stories. We're talking about like the impact they had on the superhero films, and also the impact that they had on us as people, as fans, and what they're doing now for us. And it's been a tremendous amount of fun. I have to say it's some of the funnest podcasts I've done in ages. So check us out there. I have my Star Wars podcast with Saf and Megan. You can find us on Blaster Cannon. That's Blaster Cannon with a CANON, not cannon with like a shot out of a cannon. So that's at Blaster Cannon Pod. You can find that on Den of Geek network. Also, we have our own feed on iTunes. So check us out there.
Awesome. All around badass podcast. So Ryan Haas, what's your plug?
Follow me on Twitter at SMB_Ryan and follow the Tim Drake Robin podcast. Everyone loves the Drake on Twitter at ELTD podcast.
Awesome. Follow me on Twitter, Shewrick, SHEWRICK. And if you haven't listened to the Batman on Film Superman and Cinema show, I'm very proud of that episode. Justin was on that one with me, our other Batman on Film partner in crime, and Zaki Hassan from HuffPost. And our first time he's been on the show, Shiraz Faruqi from Comic Book Debate, one of the biggest online Superman fans I know. Super cool guest. And that was a really awesome show. We talked about the original Richard Donner film all the way up to Justice League. Brendan Routh, Chris Reeve, Henry Cavill. It's a great conversation. Please go back and listen to that. Also, if you like these Star Wars episodes, go and search the archives. Paul's been on several. They're all fun. They're all great. We break down trailers with FJ DeSanto. We do a prequel episode just talking about the prequels. We're just all over the place with Star Wars. We love Star Wars. Thanks for supporting the satellite shows. There's so much Star Wars stuff coming, obviously. So there's going to be more of these. And as always, guys, we love you and we thank you for your support. Batman on Film is the authoritative, definitive, original, dadgum original, I should say. And I'm Rick Shew, and we're going to have announcer Rachel just take us out.
Hey now! You've been listening to the Batman on Film podcast, a proud member and the sponsor of the Batman Podcast Network, BatmanPodcastNetwork.com. You can listen to the BOF podcast on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, TuneIn, and wherever good podcasts like this one can be found. Want to advertise on the BOF podcast? Go to advertisecast.com/the Batman on Film Con podcast. Follow Jet on Twitter at Batman on Film and on BOF's Facebook fan page at facebook.com/jet.batmanonfilm. Email Jet via jet@batman-on-film.com. Follow Rick on Twitter at ShewRick and on Facebook at facebook.com/BOF-Shew. For Jet, Rick, Justin, and Ryan, I'm announcer Rachel. Thanks for listening.